As a countdown draws closer to the 2023 presidential inauguration set to be held in Abuja, or currently being held in Abuja, yesterday saw the gathering of foreign dignitaries, politicians, business leaders, and celebrities who filled the room in a build-up and anticipation to today. In a speech, the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR asked Nigerians not to pity him as he asked for the job, got it, and will deliver on his promises.
Corruption, poverty, inconsistencies in policy, and many other problems confronting us. But don't pity me. I asked for the job. I campaigned for it. No excuses. I will live up to the bill. I promise you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ahead of the inauguration that is just a few hours away, some Nigerians spoke to News Central about their expectations from the incoming administration. Let's take a look.
We are expecting a new government to come in, and of course we are aware of the court case going on, and from my understanding of the whole electoral process, I do not actually believe in the result that was announced. So I expect that the judiciary system will ensure that justice prevails.
The president-elect is already there. The best thing that we can do is just to pray that everything go well in this country, because as it is right now, we just have to join our hands together and pray for the president-elect.
Tinubu, when he's a governor, I like him. I like him very well. He do very well for we people, for Lagos State. That is why I like Tinubu.
He's a good man. I won't say he shouldn't be on that seat. And God know that it won't be the best man for us. Then over to God. I don't have much to say about that.
My own is that we should just accept the fact that he has been elected as the president. So let us just move on with him and see what he can do for us in the change of how the system actually is right now.
Some of the track record on ground, we just hope, because he's also part of APC. So that is also the fear. And also this Muslim ticket also, we the Christian, many Christians does not want it. So I will just pray. That's why I said prayer. Prayer will go a long way, because if we say, oh, let's just look at what he has done before and judge with it, it won't go.
If they are in the same party, which is APC, well, what I need to say about that is mindset. Your mind and my mind is different. We may be inside same womb and I'll be better than you, or you may be better than me. So it's not all about party.
I believe Tinubu also has a different vision, even if he's coming from the same party that is going out right now. So I believe his own vision will be better than the one we are in right now.
That Monday, I will be very happy make Tinubu enter.
Sure, it's the will of God, because this one is under probability. I don't know what to say now.
Oh, well, I think Nigerians always need to be reminded that you cannot pray away bad governance, and you can't pray good governance into your lives. It doesn't happen that way. But let's bring in our guest this morning. We're joined by lawyer and public affairs analyst, Barrister Jide Ologun, and also this morning by Ezekiel Nyaetok, is a political and public affairs analyst. And thanks for joining us. Good morning to you, sirs.
Thanks for having us.
All right, I'm going to start with Mr. Nyaetok. Mixed reactions to the inauguration. Of course, the president-elect has said that nobody should pity him because he asked for the job and he will do his absolute best and give what it takes. But I want to get your thoughts. Is that very inspiring for you, and are you very optimistic about the next 4 years? With he will be President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right. Again, thanks for having me. And a very big, what's the word now? Good morning to Nigerians. You see, I've been with you, you've talked with me, you've interviewed me, we've had a lot of interactions in the past, but I'll tell you that this is one of the most difficult interviews or comments I'll be making, because we have a country, and for me in particular, Nigeria has been very good to me. I've never held any appointment, never, but Nigeria gave me the best education anybody could give anybody in the world, and I owe this country. That said, the second point is that there is the duty that I owe Nigerians, because they have come to have a lot of confidence in the things I say. So I must understand that I'm a public affairs analyst. To that extent, it becomes incumbent upon me to properly inform the people. Now, these two things put together makes it very difficult for me today, because there are major issues that have not been resolved, which could easily have been resolved before today. For instance, the issue of 25%, two things could have been done, rightly or wrongly. For instance, if they had forged results and given the winner of the election, 25% or above in FCT. Or in the alternative, rather than the court play hide and seek, they come out and just say, Nigerians, the 25% for FCT is not required. Now we can now go along with that, maybe go to court, but the moment you have made that pronouncement, it becomes a basis to leave that matter for now. But when you leave that matter unresolved, it's something that portends great.
Mr. Ayatok, that would be a conversation on, just like Bishop Onayekon said, and I think Olisa Agwakoba, SAN, that it shouldn't take this long for a tribunal to conclude and let, the people who voted know who exactly won, But unfortunately, that will not be changed immediately. I want you to speak your thoughts on, as quickly as possible because of time, your thoughts on if today, marks the birth of a bright future for Nigeria as a nation.
Okay, let's look at, let's leave that and believe God. We are very godly people, that issue will be resolved. I don't know. Part two is, I want to ask myself a very fundamental question. Which Bola Tinubu are we meeting? There are two possible Bola Tinubus. Number one is that vibrant, governor of Lagos State that was very innovative, very creative, looked for square pegs for square holes and round pegs for round holes, one who was futuristic, one who was a go-getter. That is one here. He was energetic, he was vibrant, he had all that going, and he wanted to make a name on the sands of time. That is one Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There is a second possibility, and I always give this example because it's very important. When I was young, I had a mother that was an iron lady. Ekaete was, the fear of her was the beginning of wisdom, and you dare not do nonsense. There was always that Dr. Do-Good that she would use to. Then fast forward, I became a father, and she came to spend some time with me. And when my children did something wrong and I tried to apply what she taught me, she would say, Sana ya can't do in Kedo, leave them, na small picking they be. What was I? Was I not a small picking? Age had caught up with my mother. She had started seeing things from a different perspective. She had started having other considerations. If that person becomes the new president that we have, who is going to look for political expediency, who might not be as vibrant as before, then I'm sorry, we are in for a bad time. The question is, which president is Nigeria having tonight.
All right, now
today.
let's bring in Barrister Jide Ologun to joining on the conversation. And I'd like to make reference to the speech that the outgoing president gave. One of the things he talked about would be the strength of his administration in terms of separation of powers. We currently have the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal still ongoing, even whilst the inauguration and swearing-in is happening. Talk to us about, the last government, the strength of the judiciary, and how you would rate, its challenges and what is to be expected in the coming administration if we are really going to see separation of powers as should be.
Basically, we have that established as part of our governance system in Nigeria. And it's also a function of perception. In fact, the outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari, has claimed that he has done so well in allowing the arms of government to function without interference. And having said that, you would have seen lately also that the judiciary has been trying to enforce that checks and balances instance. Look at the recent decision in the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court said that when it comes to the issue of nomination, PDP had no business in that. It should be left to the party to decide. And I mean, there were arguments in the court because I need to speak specifically about the judiciary. I've always said it, if parties don't come to the judiciary won't go to the parties. So, and when you come, according to Section 131 of the Evidence Act, you are the one to establish your case. You see so, and would have also noticed that concerning all the major candidates in the last general elections in Nigeria, there are allegations of economic infractions in the UK, allegations of drug involvement in the US, allegations of corruption in Nigeria, different kinds of allegations, but also under our constitution, that is our principal law in the nation. You don't just say somebody is a criminal. You must prove that case beyond all reasonable doubts, and that is why the judiciary is there. So if we want to be sensational, for instance, many would have been running with the fact that, there wasn't proper nomination. In fact, you must have read about how the Court of Appeal slammed somebody with 40 million naira for frivolous and vexatious matters that were brought to the court. And having said that, look at the case of the legislative arm of government. The perception is that this ninth assembly came out as a rubber stamp assembly, because the business of the assembly in the oversight functions is to ensure that the executive arm executes the laws. Because if you look at Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the National Assembly shall make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good governance of the nation. So that is the business of the National Assembly, not to endorse everything that comes from the presidency or from the executive, so that the mandate of the people handed over to government can translate into prosperity. Because if you look at Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the security and the welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So how do you ensure that the government, particularly the executive arm, ensures the security? And we are not just talking about physical security, economic security, cyber, different kinds of security, and that the welfare of the citizens are well secured, so that we don't become a nation where about 133 million citizens are within the poverty bracket. And these are challenges for the incoming government. The challenges of these nations have been summarized into three, tagged to the promises towards 2015 election. We had an ailing economy, and is it not worse with us economically now? We had a troubling insecurity in the land.
All right.
And we had a debilitating corruption.
Mr. Ologun, please hold that thought. Hold that thought. We'll come back to you. You've talked about how the problems of the nation can be summarized into three. We'll come back to you to continue with that thought. But let's quickly head to Kwara and share with you what's happening in real time. The inauguration, of course, updates of the inauguration happening in Kwara.
In accordance with the Constitution.
In accordance with the Constitution.
Of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And the law.
And the law.
Are always in the interest of the sovereignty.
and always in the interest of the sovereignty,
integrity,
solidarity,
well-being,
well-being,
and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That I will strive to preserve the fundamental objectives
and
directed principles
principles
of state policy contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That I will exercise the authority vested in me as the governor so as not to impede or prejudice the authority lawfully vested in the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and so as not to endanger the continuance of federal government in Nigeria. I will not allow my personal interest to influence my official conduct or my official decisions.
I will,
to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I will abide by the code of conduct contained in the fifth schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That in all circumstances, I will do right to all manner of people according to law. Without fear of favor, affection, or ill will. That I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as the governor of Kwara State, except as may be required for the discharge of my duties as governor.
All right, that is, of course, the swearing that's happening right now in Kwara State of the Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, who sworn in for a second term in office and who also recently became the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, taking over from Aminu Tambuwal. We also had his deputy who was sworn in earlier. That's, of course, the person of Kayode Alabi. Now, let's head back to our conversation earlier. We're talking to barrister Jide Ologun earlier, and we, of course, still have Ezekiel Enya talk on the call. And we're talking about, what to expect going forward. Earlier in the show, we had discussed about how, you did mention, Mr. Ologun, about how Nigeria's numerous challenges can be qualified into three categories. Now, a question to ask is that the president-elect has, of course, shared with us that he is equal to the task, should not be pitied, as he will deliver. At what point can we then say it is fair for us to analyze his time in office? And at what point are we expecting to see like a drastic change? Is it something that can be analyzed within the next 100 days, or should we be expecting more, seeing how the challenges of the country are, a number of them?
I believe and I suggest that we should not expect any magic, but we need to rechannel our attention. Listening to the swearing in of the governor-elect in Kwara State right now, I heard the clause, doing things in the interest of the sovereignty and subject to the constitutional provisions in the land. And I have always argued, if you read Section 14 to Section 18 of the Nigerian Constitution of 1999 as amended, the provisions there are strong enough to translate this country to the third richest country in the world if they are implemented up to 65%. But what we have experienced is that maybe our leaders just deviate from the provisions of the Constitution and begin to introduce selfish interests, sometimes party interests, overriding the sovereignty interest of the nation. Because what is expected when you swear to such an office is that you engage the resources of the nation to create commonwealth for common good. But is that what we experience? So we expect that if truly the new president coming in has sincerity of purpose and wants to walk his talk, then it should begin to address these various areas. For instance, who are the oil thieves that are plaguing this nation, plunging us into poverty and this hardship? And these oil thieves may be connected with the insecurity in the land because they want to cover up their tracks and distract the people from driving towards accountability. Because when you consider good governance has 8 characteristics. You talk about accountability, you talk about consensus, you talk about transparency, you talk about responsiveness, you talk about effective and efficient system, you talk about equitable and inclusive approach, and it follows the rule of law. Then we now look at how do we begin to introduce security to the land? Who are these bandits? The government has admitted that they have identified about 400 sponsors of Boko Haram. How can we bring them to justice and send them back? How did they not go into Benin Republic? How could they not go and operate in Ghana? Why are they in Nigeria? Then you look at the economy. Right now, our interest rate, even at the central bank level, is double digit. How can we bring it down to single digit? How can we generate electricity for this country and reactivate the economy? How can we begin to industrialize this country? How can we provide employment? How can we unite the people? These are issues of concern. And when we begin on this journey, I believe that somewhere along the line, it may not be immediate, we start correcting those errors. I have said it. In 1965, Singapore left Malaysia as a little coastal region with little resources and had a vision of becoming a first world. And with the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore achieved it even before he died. And today, Singapore is one of the best countries to live and to work in the world. Nigeria was doing very well. I mean, in the First Republic, regions were vibrant and delivering on promises of office. And let me say this. For example, why are we owing so much? The total indebtedness of this country was about 12.12 trillion naira in March 2015. Today is about 77 trillion naira. And yet we have the largest deposit of proven gas in Africa. We have oil in abundance. We have different kinds of resources, gold and everything. So how are we harnessing these resources resourcefully to translate them into wealth for the nation? So if the government, the new government that is coming in now, attend to all this, then we begin to change the mindset of the people. And I am setting an agenda that we should bring up the concept of United States of Nigeria. Not just in concept, but even in the name, and begin to drive this education into the people. If you look at the United States of America, the United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, you see that they have better lease of life for their citizens. And if the journey, someone says that if you discover you are traveling on the wrong direction, irrespective of how much you speed, you will end at the wrong destination, then you make a U-turn. So if at this point in time, our new incoming president is bold enough to challenge the corrupt system and put us on the path of, doing things the right way, then very soon we see Nigeria presenting a new narrative to the world. It is possible. It has happened in Rwanda. It happened in Tanzania. Right. John Magufuli, before he died, started a new call for Tanzania. So these are possibilities.
Okay.
And we just hope that we experience it in Nigeria.
Ologun. All right, thanks for that. I want us to, in the interest of time, let's quickly bring back Ezekiel Nyaya talk. And talk once again about, of course, round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. President Muhammadu Buhari was heavily criticized for taking 6 months to appoint, of course, his ministers. President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been, continuously named as one person who always puts the right people in office. So do you think that might be key to driving Nigeria forward with the new next 4 years?
Okay, like I said earlier, I think the biggest challenge that we have today, assuming that all goes this way, is unmasking who we have as our next president. Do we have the politician or do we have the leader? Now, that question is the most important. My brother has reeled out a lot of things. Nigerians rank among the most, what's the word? Most intelligent people in the world, most talented people in the world. We have the best possible policies in the world. But the question is, who is our leader? A leader or a politician? That question is fundamental and addresses every other thing. A leader thinks in terms of round pegs in round holes. A leader or a politician thinks of succession. So as Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu takes the oath of office today, now what is his first thought? Is it his re-election that's going to determine the appointment he's going to make? He's going to bring in politicians. He's going to make sure that he puts things that will deliver him, because politics is different from governance. I always say this, and I don't know how I can stop saying it. If you have an aircraft, you have the engineer and you have the pilot. The engineer is the politician. He knocks, he pushes, he screws, it's oily, it's dirty, he gets the aircraft ready. As soon as that is done, then they come and clean it all up. Then the pilot comes in his immaculate uniform, looking all tush and orderly. He now comes to look at things being done properly. He ensures that every T is crossed and every I is dotted. He's a man that looks at principles. He's a man that looks at what must be done right. Now, if you bring a politician into governance, you can only have an economy that will become the poverty capital of the world, an aircraft that must crash. Our prayer is that Bola Tinubu that we knew as an administrator and as a leader will be the person that come to party as our next governor, our next president.
All right, Mr. Ayatok. Barrister Jide Ologun, Buhari administration set a pretty bad precedent with regards its response to the media, its ability to speak with Nigerians, its level of accountability that it believed that it owed to the people who voted it into power. President Buhari barely gave any press briefings, barely spoke with Nigerians, except on maybe, national holidays or something like that. But that's just an example. There was also times when, of course, Nigerians expected them to obey court orders that the administration didn't. So these are, certain precedents have been set by Buhari administration. I want you to speak after. We're going to speak with our correspondent in Abuja, but when we come back, Barrister Ologun, I would like that you speak on how the new administration picks up from there and if they would be eager to do better. But let's go to Abuja. Amadin Oyi is joining us. Good morning, Mr. Amadin. Can you hear us?
Hello, sir.
All right. Quickly share with us what's going on in Eagle Square in the Federal Capital Territory.
Okay, right now, the Eagle Square is getting filled. Dignitaries are arriving into the facility, and we're expecting just now. If you see behind me, you see the military parade is about to begin. In fact, you can hear their drums. They began marching into the Eagle Square for the parade, which signifies that the program is about to commence.
Okay, and what's the mood like? I think because of time, what's the mood like over there? Is it a celebratory mood? Are there a lot of Nigerians who are excited about what is happening today?
I can tell you that you can virtually see the excitement on their faces. In fact, from yesterday afternoon towards evening, when dignitaries and presidents of African countries began to announce their arrival in Abuja, Macky Sall of Senegal, Adama Barrow of Gambia, the U.S. Transport Secretary leading POTU's delegation. So right now, a lot of supporters are excited. This is a new transition for Nigeria, and it's believed that this will be a new leaf for the new government. So many of them, like I said, you could see it on their faces, party supporters and others. They are excited that in about 1 or 2 hours we'll be done with the ceremony.
All right, let's also ask about how secure the environment is. Is there guaranteed maximum security? There have been concerns in some parts of the states. We've seen police police PROs and the police speaking out, warning against protesters. Are there any such concerns in the FCT?
I tell you, first of all, is a watertight security because apart from the Eagle Square, the cordoning begins a few kilometers away from the Eagle Square. You can't bring your vehicles in. The arrangement is such that the official transportation vehicles will have to bring you into the facility. On ground, if you look behind me, you see a combination of security personnel. The Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Nigeria Police, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, even paramilitary organizations, they are all working together to ensure that there is security, and also the Department of State Services. So as I tell you, to get to this venue, you can't even have access to this venue if you don't have the right accreditation. So those who are thinking they have to do any protest, I don't think they can get to. Maybe they can do that somewhere within the city center, but near the Eagle Square, that is a no-no.
All right, can you also run us through the timeline of events to be expected today? We know that there's going to be some post-inauguration launch later, but we would like you to run us through the timeline of activities to be expected.
Come again, please.
We'd like you to run us through the timeline of activities we're expecting today in celebration of the inauguration.
Okay, right now, dignitaries are still coming in. We've seen a lot of members of the diplomatic corps. We've seen senior government officials. Now, I think the event will start proper when Mr. President will come, and that is going to be his last official assignment as the President of Nigeria. After the event, he will be taken to the airport, the presidential wing of the airport, him and the vice president, where there is a plane already on ground. There are two planes. One will take the president to Daura, his home state, while the other will take the vice president to Ikene, his home state. So the arrangement is such that after the president performs, the chief judge of Nigeria swears in the incoming president. Then from there, the incoming president assumes duty as the president of Nigeria and no longer the president-elect. From this afternoon, after the swearing in by the chief judge of Nigeria, then he begins his official 4-year tenure as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, Amadi, we will reconnect with you again. Of course, as things develop over there at Eagle Square and in the Federal Capital Territory. Thanks for your time and thanks for joining us. Now let's go back to our guest. 30 seconds to Jide Ologun. I don't know if you can quickly respond to what I was asking earlier. Did the Buhari administration set a precedent that you think that the current administration must not follow? Barrister Ologun, can you hear us? Yes, go ahead, please.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you clearly. Can you?
Okay, I'm asking, if the Buhari administration set a precedent in any way that you think that the new administration must not follow. In 30 seconds, please.
Like I said earlier, there are different perceptions about the performance of the outgoing government. For Nigeria is an ongoing concern. And I must appreciate my elder in the house who has tried to profile whether we'll be having an encounter with Bola Tinubu, the technocrat, or Bola Tinubu, the politician. But I believe by now, politicians would have realized that when you exalt politics above governance, you may not escape failure. So why don't you come headlong and begin to deal with the obvious challenges that we have in the country? And I keep emphasizing the fact that we have the resources. And of course, the incoming president has the opportunity of learning from his predecessors. I mean, he is older than the political independence of Nigeria. So he's been in the value chain of the management of this country over the years. So This is another golden opportunity for him.
All right. Mr. Ayatok, can you also share with us your quick 30 seconds as we wrap up?
There are three numbers Nigerians must watch, and the president. Number 6, number 6, number 8. 6 plus 6 is 12, which is larger than 8. He won with about 8 million votes. But two other main parties had 6 million. That tells you that there are 12 million Nigerians that are feeling disappointed this morning against 8 million that voted for him. On account of that, if he is the technocrat and the leader, his first step should be towards what are the sort of things he will bring to the table to bring back Nigerians, to make sure that he suffers his victory with cautious optimism while being the leader, to make sure that those who did not win are not meant to look like losers, so that it becomes a win-win situation. If he's able to manage this with what we may call emotional intelligence, I think a foundation would have been laid. And like my brother has agreed with me, he must be the technocrat, or else he will be a monumental failure.
Ezekiel Ayatok, Chidi Ologun, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. We do hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Absolutely.